Good evening, everybody. Good morning to the people who are joining us from the different time zones. In that case, we are pleased to have you all. We will just officially start this webinar in a couple of minutes once we have some more attendees joining us today. Okay, here we go. So once again, good morning, good evening to all the audience and webinar attendees for joining us today on this PMI UAE chapter webinar. I am Anshul Chaube and I'm your moderator today for this particular webinar. And we are going to cover the topic strategic project management today. So I'm joined by my colleague at the back end, Olimu Jones, who is handling all the magic work behind this webinar. Before I hand over the session to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Sherif Eigendy, allow me to quickly give you a brief introduction about our PMI UI chapter. Following this presentation, I will be having some short Q&A answer as well, where Sherif and I will do our best to accommodate all your questions within the time frame. We will also encourage you to post all your thoughts or comments on the chat, especially in the Q&A section, and interact with us to make this webinar more conversational and engaging. Okay, and then we are also going to give a heads up to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Sharif, so as to know that how much questions we are going to expect to stay this webinar on time. Okay. Okay, so now please allow me to share my screen to take you through the webinar PMI chapter introduction, and then we will go from there. Okay, fine. So let's begin. Today's webinar is about who we are and what we are going to do. So of course, we are the world leader and we work on your behalf to advance the project management as a profession worldwide as a part of the PMI community. PMI UAE chapter is basically our country's chapter, which is of course the US-based Project Management Institute, 100% run by volunteers. Proud to be in the top 5 of the chapters globally in terms of members, and we are growing day by day. We are also passionate about leading project management as a profession and also catering to the development of the people through networking and education. We are dependent on you all in order to make our chapter activities as much as interactive and much more engaging as possible so that we can contribute to our activities through interesting talks, presentations, questions, corporate sponsorship, and help us out as a volunteer as well. This is our PMI UAE chapter board, which having all the information about the people who are working together with us. Also, we offer new and enhanced benefits in terms of networking, learning and knowledge sharing, career growth, and events. This webinar in which we are all participating today is the part of diversified webinar pillar of the event section. Here are a few of our collaboration partners who help us with the sponsorship as well as providing us with the great speakers like one we have today. PDU information. So this information might be very useful for you, so that basically we are going to get 2 strategic PDUs automatically will be claimed to those who are attending this webinar. It would take me about 4 weeks to the PDUs to be in your account. So you don't need to claim it yourself. Please note, kindly be engaged with the panelists through the Q&A section and for any general chats. Note the PDUs will not be awarded to the people who are leaving the screen online and doing something else. So if you don't receive any PDU by any chance in your account, please send us an email into info@pmiua.org. To find out more about upcoming events, visit our webinar and the website at www.pmiua.org, and also feel free to follow us in any of these social media channels to have the more information and engagement opportunities. So that is the information I want to share you about our organization and our chapter. Now, before I go ahead, let me introduce to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Sherif. Mr. Sherif Eigendy is characterized as a far-sighted strategist, tactician, and progressively managing business excellence through several operational consolidations and restructures. He is successful in execution of process reengineering, scaled agile frameworks, Scrum, and project management profession, corporate governance, as well as excellent management organization assessments, government awards and customer experience as well to boost alignment and organizational synergies, as well as to help the employee morals and to improve their productivity, quality, and customer service, along with the complexity of operations. His forte is to help organizations to make operation excellence as a strategic differentiator. He has helped organizations internationally and locally, and being awarded with excellent strategy, customer experience, benchmarking, and innovation. Holding a reputation of increasing profit margins, growing employee engagement, improving customer satisfaction, and above all, creating an atmosphere for business excellence. So here I introduce Mr. Sherif, and the floor is all yours, Sherif, to take it ahead from here. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Anshul, for the nice words. You are very kind. I would like to welcome everyone today in our webinar and our session, as we will speak about the strategic management, as you said, and I hope it will be beneficial for everyone. And we're speaking about different perceptions, and we'll take it from another point of view. So how we will go from the basic to the intermediate level to the advanced level, and then what about the takeaways and what we will have, then that will go to the Q&A. So for the time being, allow me to share my screen with the esteemed audience. Well, here we go. I'm very happy to have you today and welcoming you in our webinar session, and thanks to the PMI and the UAE chapter for hosting me tonight. About me in brief, I'm organizational leader, has an experience over 15 years translating and designing the strategies into award-winning strategies. I'm certified from Scrum, PMP, IBM, Google, SAFe, and I had many awards in my career and professional certifications, and I was lucky to work with the leaders and the Crown Prince and their highnesses and the government, either in the UAE or in the MENA region, GCC, and globally. So what about our agenda for the day? That we will go for introduction for the strategic management, then about the strategic thinking, the strategic management basics. Then we'll speak about the VMV statement, the balance scorecard, strategic maps, OKRs. Then we will go to the intermediate level, which is the environmental situation analysis, where we will speak about the organizational culture analysis, SWOT analysis, and the strategies. Ending with implementing the strategy, bits and pieces, tips, and then the checklist and conclusions. And by the end of the slides, I leave you with the reference if you'd like to go for the source and referencing. Starting, I would like to start with a quote. Strategic management is defined as a process that centers around forming and implementing strategies in companies. I would like to start from your point of view. I need to ask a question. What comes first, strategy or tactics? If you think a little bit, you got it. The answer is like what you think. Strategy always comes first. That's why strategies make time and be created based on research and careful planning to achieve long-term vision. This means the strategies can be changed, but not lightly or easy. However, tactics, on the other hand, can be easily adjusted to correct the course in action. Then, when we will go, you will find in the definition, the strategy is a special plan made to achieve a market position and to reach organizational goals and objectives. However, policy refers to a set of rules made by the organization for rational decision making. That's why many people have confusion regarding the two terms, as they are not alike. So, what about the definition of tactics? While the strategy is the action plan, takes you where you want to go, the tactics are the individual steps and the actions that will get you there. In a business context, we can say this means the specific actions for the teams take to implement the initiatives outlined in the strategy. So the strategy is a concept and the strategic management is the implementation of said strategy or the art of making it happen. Going to the strategic thinking. When we go to the strategic thinking, that as all of you may know, and when I work with my client, I refer to the strategy as a game. It's a game plan. Imagine yourself playing chess. When you are choosing to achieve the organizational objective, gain customers' trust, attain competitive advantage, and acquire market position. It's a combination of well-thought intent and actions which lead organization towards the desired position. It's unified and integrated plan made to achieve the basic objectives of the organization. Like, you can think about effectiveness, you can think about handling events and problems, taking advantage of opportunities, full resource utilization, and coping with the threats. So if we have look at the slide, we will concentrate on the big picture and the common sense, then the ideas and people, networking, and corporate goals. Simply, strategic thinking is competitive, extroverted, skill-based, and long-term. When we will go for the development phases of the strategy, what I do and what I advise my clients and the organizations to think about the following. Here, the major difference between the strategy and the policy. Most of the organization, they are confused and they mix between both. And we can know about the differences. The strategy is the best plan opted from several plans in order to achieve the organizational goals and objectives, while the policy is a set of a common rules and regulation which forms base to take day-to-day decisions. The strategy is a plan of action while the policy is a principle of action. Strategies can be modified as per the situation, so they are dynamic in nature, while policies uniform in nature. Strategies are associated with the organizational moves, decisions for the situations and conditions which are not encountered or experienced early. However, policies define the rules for the routine activities in the organization which are repetitive in nature. Strategies are concentrated towards actions where policies are decision-oriented. Then The top management always frames strategies, but sub-strategies are formulated and the middle level is doing it in a contrast to the policy. They are in general made by the top management. Strategies deal with external environment factors. On the other hand, policies are made for the internal environment of business. Strategies often contain methodologies, as all of us know, used to achieve and set the goals and achieve the targets, in contrast to the policies, which determine what is to be done, what should not be done in specific circumstances. So in the development phases, you will find the financial planning, the long-term planning, strategic management. In the financial, when we develop, we look for the budget and the functional areas. Long-term planning, you go for the multi-annual budget, deviation, definition of funding requirements. For the planning phase, you go for the corporate strategy, which directed to increase the value. Business areas directed towards sustainable competitive advantage, as well as strategy development is an interactive process. And when we go to the management, vision and leadership consider clearly defined strategies framework, as we said before, a large capacity to think strategically, supported the management procedure, conductive value system, and corporate culture. This about the strategy. We're still in the strategic thinking and we are about to sail to another level. Here you can imagine with me in a database, the simple model of strategic management. We start from the strategic planning, which is defined by strategic objectives. Strategic objectives goes to be translated by the analysis and the forecast, corporate analysis, environmental analysis, then cascaded to defining the strategy, where we consider implementing strategy, behavioral implementation, factual implementation. Then we control. If we imagine the whole company is A, we cascade it to the divisions B, and then the functional area C. That take us to the strategic management, and here that will start to speak basics. When we speak, as all of you may know, the difference between strategy and policy is a little complicated, because policies comes under strategy. Apart from that, policies are made to support strategies in several ways. For example, accomplishing organizational goals and securing advantageous positions in the market. Both are made by the top management as well as made after a deep dive analysis. So in the basics, when we are understanding the strategic management, we focus on company's development, company success, external and internal focus, in addition to the successful potential and broader perspective and company's position in the market. So this the basics which is forming for us the upcoming categories. If you imagine the framework that we have, which is about strategy, structure, and system, it's becoming more interesting as we are now diving into strategic management. Based on my experience with the clients and organization, when leading their projects, running deep dive gap analysis, I find them confused. When asking them, what are the key features of strategy and tactics they follow? For the tactics, this need to be identified to know about the character of the organization and its philosophy. But answer is not always right. There is a confusion. But here you go. The strategy, it's a high-level activity, it's a long-term approach, and it's the vision of the entity, crafted by the top executives, controlled by market deals with external market forces, relates to the business model, involves portfolio activities of selecting the best fit programs and projects, An example includes growing sales, market leadership for the organization. Looks at hunting for the new tools like operation project management model and balance scorecard are applicable as well. While the tactics, it's lower level activity, short-term approach, and it's the mission of the entity deployed by operational project managers, controlled by factor within the organization, deal with internal organizational forces, relates to the organizational objective, involves measures taken effectively in managing projects or operations, improving worker satisfaction, and now we have the happiness and the quality of life and well-being, and reducing cost, concentrated with perfecting the present, and using tools like Lean and Six Sigmas as well were applicable for the organization. So for the system, you will find we need a coordination. To go to the strategy, we need management. And then we need another coordination for the structures. Coming next for the levels of management. Where we link the pyramid, the vision, you will find it is a narrative management, which asking where. And then when we will go cascading it down to the strategy, strategic management, it's about the how. Operational management reflects the what during the implementation phase. Strategy defines what and why. Strategy is the intent, determines what needs to be done and why by questioning its effectiveness. Then involves intentional and focused high-level thinking that defines the direction to take for aligned with the goals and objectives and the vision you want to achieve. Requires focus, divining on the future. It was difficult to change before, but today's world, the change we touch, like we are speaking about genetics and the metaverse and the digital universe, everything is possible. Though it's possible to be changed, needs outwards and external looking perspective into competition and market conditions, typically formed by leaders within the organization. Primary focus on the effectiveness, doing the right thing, and it's easy to measure and evaluate. Strategic planning doesn't include execution details. Strategy is intangible, while the tactics define how and when. That's why we spoke strategy and tactics. Tactic is putting the intent to action, determines how it must be done by focusing on the efficiency, cost, effort, resources, involved and concentrate actions and steps, implementation, in line with the direction, aligned with the strategy. It's requiring day-to-day execution directed towards the specific strategy. It's very easy to change, offering a lot of flexibility. Needs inward view, and that can be executed with the resources of the organization. Typically defined and executed by managers. Primary focus on efficiency, doing it right, less resources, time, and money. Easy to evaluate through well-defined metrics. Tactical plans includes timeline and implementation details, when and where they will be applied. Tactics are tangible. Coming to translate the pyramids, you will find the narrative management. It drafts the corporate vision, basic goals, and the policy programs. It's above strategic management. Managing principles and could be considered strategic management. However, are not the focus of the strategic decision. Principles are unrealistic for the strategic management, and they would also have retroactive effects. While strategic management comes in the middle, managing and coordinating companies' development, long-term focus, tasks are implemented, corporate strategy, and making general decision. Here we go, operational management. Management current business, tasks are achieved successfully. They establish framework of strategic management and best possible of strategic management for setting up profit potential. And that was the basics. Coming to the intermediate level, the VMVs, objectives and business model. Here, always, when we speak about the vision, mission, values, we think at the company primary goals or the organization, the standard and coherent corporate strategy, personal goals, the contribution with vision and mission and values. And we have key questions to ask ourselves in the organization. A lot of times when I work with organizations, they do not have the alignment of the strategy. While we are in the time asking ourselves in the organization who we are, what is the purpose of our work, what is our mission, how we want to position ourselves, long-term, short-term, what values does our work bring? When we speak about the vision and mission values and the statements, all of you may know here, for example, or in the MENA region, the powerful role the leaders they are playing in empowering the country and the organizations. Now, we'll find, for example, UAE, they have government excellence model, and they are sharing it with different countries, trying to spread the culture of excellence, and they are focusing on the new vision 2071, and we are going to Mars with a probe. Look at the organizations. For example, you will find Dubai Police, you will find Roads and Transportation Authority, you will find DIWA, you will find municipalities, you will find a lot of organization on the federal and the local levels. They are participating in the community and they are going beyond the why. For example, the competitiveness and the indicators, think about it. Benchmarking, you will find, for example, if you go and visit the websites of the organizations and the entities which are providing services, you will find every single step at your finger. You don't need to visit anymore the offices, happiness centers. You can run everything through the applications, the smart services. And now we are turning from the Internet of Things to the Internet of a place. If you think about the metaverse and what's happening now, where you can touch and feel wherever service you are going and you can visit someone else in a different country, it's amazing where we are, and it's amazing how we think and what we want to achieve. For example, take Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Vision 2030, Egypt Vision 2030. For example, that you will go for the blockchain, Bitcoins, and the resilience. Think about Netflix, Amazon, and their logo from A to Z. Think about Google, Meta, Apple, Samsung, Tesla, Alibaba, Service Canada, and many more. Then when you will find what they want, you will know they sell the story. they sell the why, and that's make people using their services and products. When you will go for the why, how, and what, these little ideas explain why some organization and some leaders can inspire where others are not. Every single person, every single organization knows what they do 100%. If you ask your colleague, if you are asking the customer, they know what you are doing. They know what they want. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your value proposition or your process. But very, very few people or organization know why they do what they do. And why, when I ask, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what is your purpose? What is your cause? What is your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed every morning and going to work? And why should anyone cares about what you do? As a result, the way we think, we act, the way we communicate about the why and how and what, we communicated from the outside inside, while we go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organization, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, align, prepare, and communicate from the inside out. That's why people, they are using your products and services and writing their feedbacks. And you have the reviews from 1 star to 5 stars. It's all about the story behind what you do. If you are going to have a journey as a tourist in another country, you ask yourself, why I'm visiting this country, and about the history, the attractions, or what I will do. You will find yourself buying souvenirs, for example, because of the history and why and the story behind it. So when we are going for the approach, we need to align and prepare and communicate in out, not out in. For example, if Apple were like everyone else, you will find, if you ask yourself, most of the leading companies and organizations now, they are in tech, in technology, not like before, industrial, like cars manufacturing or the old school. You will find, for example, Apple, you will find Tesla, it's about sustainability. You will find Meta. Why? Back to Apple example, they communicate with you the story. When they do sell, they are having a question. Are you ready to buy our computer? Our computer is made for you. Why you are buying computer from me, for example? I just reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us, just people, they don't buy what you do. People buy why you do it. Going to the balance scorecard. The balance scorecard is wide known, and I would like to use it with my clients when we are doing analysis or we are assessing the results. The balance scorecard measures and document and monitor the activities of the company. As well, it evaluates the goals and the strategies from 4 perspectives. And this allows vision, mission, strategy, and values to be connected and presented. So if we are going to have an example of the balanced scorecard, we'll find the 4 perspectives. The financial perspective, where How do the investors view our current position? And customer perspective, how do our customers rate our services? Learning, growth perspective, how can we continue to satisfy our customers' needs and what will be our key success factors in the future? Internal process perspective, how can we best satisfy our customer needs? Linking it to the strategy, the BSC, you will find the cycle where you will find it starts from the strategy and the vision as we spoke about your why, how, what. And when you will go for the internal process, for example, you will find which process we need to excel at. You will find the link here in the strategic goals, the KPIs, and the guidelines and the measures. The same when you go with the customers. How can we satisfy our customers' needs? You will find the priority. Again, is the strategic goals and the KPIs and the guidelines and the measures. Same for the financial. You will find the priorities changing when we measure. You will find the priorities changing when we are going for the learning and growth. Here, you will find the top down and from down to the top, the vision, linked and aligned. For example, if we are going from the financial perspective, we are going, how do our customers and shareholders view our success? Customer perspective, it would be linked to how should we relate the customers to achieve our vision? Internal process, which process do we need to optimize and satisfy our customers? And for the learning and growth perspective, how should our organization evolve and achieve our vision? When you go to the vision, you need to think about the why, your statement. And here, I'm happy to provide you with an example. It's a quarter report, dumb example. Include the strategic goals and the KPIs, target values, and the quarters, and the financial, customers, internal process, and learning and growth. What we see in organizations is a bit different because the link is absent. Some of them, they are good in linking it based on their understanding of the model they are using or the tool they are using, and others, they are using it only to measure. For example, if we speak about the strategic goals linked to the financial, we'll speak about the return of investment, increase the revenue, increase the revenue per customer, and improve the financial performance. And then we link it to the KPI, return on capital, and the average revenue per customer increase over the previous year, and economic value. If we are going, for example, linking it with the customers, you will find we are increasing percentage of new customers. This link it to the KPI percentage of orders from new customers. Increase customer satisfaction. We link it to percentage of the positive customers review. Then we improve referral rates, percentage of customer referrals, increase of customer loyalty, purchasing frequently KPI. Internal process would be linked to reduce the waiting time and the average waiting time daily. Some organizations, or most of the organizations, they have the Qmatic system and they have many methods to assess the timing and the services. And now everything became in the automation. Accelerate the process, require lead time per order. For example, we give it like 3 days. Minimize lost sales rate. We can give it a KPI, lost sales rate. Improve productivity and production quality. We increase or we assess the rejection rate. develop competencies for the learning and growth. We go for the number of workshops and seminars, increase employee satisfaction. We assess the KPI of the satisfaction, reduce turnover. We measure the turnover, improve corporate image. We assess the employee attractiveness. And here it comes, the strategy map. Strategy map, it's the way you link your balance scorecard with the strategy and the why. The strategy, it's a tool that documents the strategic goals and align it with the key corporate perspective. All goals are sequential and cause and effect by relationship and connected to each other. That makes a strategic map important, in addition to the balance scorecard. If we go to the example, you will find here how we link the satisfy shareholders, for example, on the financial level by increasing revenue and then importing the report API TDA margin, and then how we link this to the customers relationship, solve the problems, and then efficient product management, and then we go for the product manager, then coming to the internal process, improve the quality control and identify discrepancies, optimize delivery, reduce waste, understand customers, and divide the markets. And the learning and growth, we go for promoting the talents, improving the IT structure, support performance excellence. This is a simple way to link the strategy in a map. One of the most models and tools I use with organization and my clients, OKRs, or what's known as objectives and key results. Objectives and key results, OKR, is an agile method to manage the goals and performance. And it's a framework as well that combines the strategies and results, helps to optimize the process, engage and drive the change. If we go using the OKRs, we have some rules. The rules we have, it starts from the retrospective, where we go to the transparency, and then quantitative and measurable results. Then you will find the retrospective, it's connected to the schedule, weekly updates, alignments, ambitious objectives, and then flexible objectives, key results. And we have limited objectives and results. The difference, KPI and balance scorecard, mostly are operational and using numbers. OKRs, they don't use numbers. They are aimed for the strategic objectives, as we will see in the next example. Objectives and key results, if we have the stages in a visualization database, you will find how the vision, mission, objective, strategy, tactics, action plan is linked to the long-term vision and mission, and then goes to the how, mission and vision. And if we give it like 1 year, for example, this will be annual objective 1 and 2, and then it's cascaded to objectives coming from the mission and vision, quarterly measured, and the key results is to do 1, 2, 3 as well, cascaded to the where from the objective quarterly to do 1, 2, 3. Another example, if we are speaking like for example, that we are reducing the cost. So how it will be in classic objective cascaded? Reduce the cost all the time, and it will be cascaded from the management to the department, to the team, to the employee. How we translate the objective? By reduce the logistic cost, and then reduce the production cost, and then reduce transportation cost, training for energy and efficient driving, for example. And this is the action level. Goes to another example, where we will go to a table 4, where you will find department, leader, objective, key result, and the targets. Here you will find, for example, the management, the CEO objective is to achieve financial sustainability, and the key result, positive net earning. Cascaded to the marketing, you will find sustained sales channel growth, and for example, 500 leads from newsletters. Then you will go to the sales, which of course goes to the growth and sales and double revenue. Financially, become cost-effective organization, cut current cost by 10%, let's say. And if we go to the HR, recruit talents for production development. So we'll hire engineers. So this is all about the OKRs and about the VMVs and how we link it to the strategy with the different methods and models. Coming to the environmental and situation analysis. When we speak about the environmental analysis, each organization has a character different from the other organization. No matter that we have a nice building, nice high tech, but we don't have the task force whom they are able and capable to move the organization and show the character of the organizations that leads to success or fail. So when we assess, we see the DNA of the organizational culture. From the organizational culture, you would know, is it a dynamic organization? Is it a lazy organization? The leaders are brave, can take decisions and make the change, willing to change, or opposite is right. If we speak about the organizational culture, an organizational culture analysis is detailed analysis of the company values and norms. And now we are speaking about what after COVID and the new normal and the new norm and employees' expectation towards it. Healthy organizational culture plays an important role in a successful company. For example, we are using surveys as a simplest method and walkabouts, the strengths and weaknesses of the organizational culture can be analyzed and if necessary modified. How we do this? We do this by 4 steps. We survey the current state of the culture. Then we analyze the strategies and the weaknesses. Thirdly, we determine what needs to be done. And then we implement and we measure and we have the corrective actions. In another way, you will find the organizational culture analysis as the y-axis and the x-axis. You will find the corporate alignment. Here, internal and external, low, high. Is it willing to change or no? If you measure and link the mission, which is the strategic direction, goals, vision, consistency internally, the core values and concepts, and coordinate and integrate, adaptability of the organization, are they willing to change, focus on customers, learning organization or no, employee involvement, integrated, focus on term, develop skill. When you measure this, and it comes in a shape or in a form of a radar, this radar includes all what we spoke about in the quadrant. And again, is the external focus. You will know the organization is flexible or stable or willing to change. And that's what I use with my clients. Coming to the SWOT analysis, one of the very popular and easy tools that we are using and all we know about it. The SWOT analysis examines the internal and external factors and relate to each other. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Here, SWOT analysis, as all we know, in the 4 circles, we're going to situation analysis. When we go to the situation analysis, we assess the internal factors, external factors. With SWOT analysis, we know the opportunities and threats. We know the strengths and the weaknesses. After the SWOT analysis, most of the time, the alignment and the strategic alignment is absent in the organization. So we use a part of the SWOT analysis and we use it as a whole. When we use it as a whole, we need to add something, we call it SWOT strategy. SWOT strategies, it's about what it provides and recommended strategies to be in action. Integrated view of internal and external influencing factors. For example, when we are using the SWOT strategies, we use the matrix. When the matrix has opportunities and threats, strengths and weaknesses, we'll go for the strategies. We'll find, for example, capitalize on the opportunities by leveraging the company's strengths, expansions and investments, make use of trends through the extending resource and the existing resource. While when we go to threats, we link it to the strategies, leverage the strengths to the offset or mitigate external threats. Then use partnerships to influence the external conditions. When we are going for the weaknesses strategy, we will find minimize the company weakness to take advantage of the opportunities. For example, cut back the red tape as a weaknesses to be able to react more quickly and market opportunities. And what we mean here, if we are willing to change, we don't go for the routine and progress. We need to move. Strategies minimize the weaknesses and reduce the threats, develop divestment strategies. In a visual form, we can link the vision with implement strategy, corporate culture, while we are monitoring the KPIs and developing a strategy. This, the effect where the risk and opportunities, external success factors, competencies, strengths and weaknesses, including internal analysis and external analysis. If we go to the strategy map, we'll find it's linked to the balance scorecard for perspectives. For example, if we take satisfy stakeholder, you will find here it's connected to the increasing revenue and improving the margin, while each of them linked to the customer relationship and efficient product management, product manager. On the internal process, we still improve quality control, identifying discrepancies, optimize delivery, reduce waste, while we still understand the customers and divide the markets. Learning and growth, support and performance excellence, improve IT structure, promote our talents. When we are implementing a strategy, we need to take actions for implementing a strategy. When we are taking action, the requirement for implementing it introduced as an implementation phase by adjusting structures and systems to the targeted strategy so the company resource distributed according to the strategic priorities. We need to inform employees of the strategy and motivate them to work towards it. Finally, we need to implement and monitor the success of implemented strategy. And we have tasks to remember. 8 tasks: designing the organizational culture, allocating resource and budget, introducing policies, giving instructions, dividing constant process change, installing communication and information systems, designing strategies, focus initiative and incentive systems, creating a work environment, organizational culture that support the strategy, which is very important, building leadership skills to promote and implement the strategy. Now we are going to the checklist and conclusion of what we spoke about in our webinar. Checklists to remember: 10 steps of strategic management. Your business plan includes the business concepts, objectives, and financial plan, and 5-year plan. You have analyzed the financial methodologies, organizational and technical risk of your business and model. You know the strengths and weaknesses of your company accurately and plan your effective and activities accordingly. You have growth strategy of your company in writing, financial investment plan. You have defined and budget how and where your target audience see your business. Your company and your products or services are constantly in the media. You have a regular contact with the key media, opinion makers, politicians of your industry, and you benchmark. Your making strategy is designed and budgeted on today's market and competitive situation. Your sales strategy focused and well-defined on customer groups, documented together with an annual action. 10, your brand strategy is documented and your main idea can be clearly expressed in a few words. Coming to the last takeaway before I hand the floor and the mic to Anchel, we need to remember important principles for building strategies and positions of success. First, strategic positions determine the company's success. Second, only when divisions, corporate can strong strategic positions be built. 3, establishment of these positions occurs by allocating resources. 4, structuring these positions takes time. We need to be patient. Only few positions can be set up simultaneously, each requiring a significant use of resource. Preserving already established strategic positions requires care. And by this, I'm ending my webinar, and I hope you did enjoy, and thank you for your attendance and for listening. And I'm happy to help any one of you and be in contact with you whenever you are in need for my advice. Thank you very much. And now we are going to unchill and I will stop sharing the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharif. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your
Thank
efforts.
you.
It was really lovely to hear you out, and that was really a lot of information coming with the comprehensive discussion points as well. I think it was a very deep topic which we have touched today, and I think we should definitely conclude it with some kind of quote which I really think in my mind, like, plans are useless, but planning is indispensable, isn't it? So I think that was a important phrase for us to understand that although we have learned a lot of things, we have a number of questions, Sharif, here lined up with us. But since we are bounded by time constraints, I would definitely recommend you to answer them briefly. Let me start with some audience questions to take that in front of you. Uh, Coming from Harish. So he's mentioning that how and where the risk and mitigation planning sits in the stage when we talk about strategy. Which stage does it really falls into overall?
Thank you. It's a very nice question, actually. Risk, if we are speaking about risk, it's in everything and every step, every stage, even in our life. Risk is even when you are driving the car, where you are sitting at your office. Everything has a risk and mitigation. That's as well applied on the strategy. The strategy has a risk, for example, financial risk or task force risk, or you can say whatever you want, or you can name it. The risk and mitigation is always with us. When we are running a strategic plan, we calculate the risk and we have the mitigation. And we have risk factors, and there are many standards to assess the risk. It starts from the ISO standard and how they do assess the risk, strategic risk, financial risk. So we cannot go and forgetting the risk. But our topic today, it's about the strategic management. So I did try to focus on it as a core. While when we are, of course, building a full long-term, short-term, or we are taking decisions, even in our projects, even in the PMI, in the PMP, in SAFE, Scrum, we are always calculating the risk. So risk is exist, and we try to mitigate till we eliminate.
Great, good. Thank you so much. Another question from Harish itself, that strategy should be explained or understood to what exact level of hierarchy in the organization structure, and how it can be measured against the improvement.
Well, it's a very nice question as well. Well, a strategy should be communicated from the top management and the leaders till the lower grades of the organization. For example, when we are going for the excellence scheme, for example, Muhammad bin Rashid Excellence Award, or the Global Star System for Services, 7 stars, we are having the vision and mission, and we are having the strategic alignment in both of the schemes. For example, executive councils as well, 360 as well, services, that's what we have. So strategy, it needs to be in the DNA of the whole organization, which is reflecting the why this organization exists, why we should deal with this organization, or we use their products or services. As I mentioned before, that we need to ask ourselves about the why. Most of the people, they go for the how and what, which is well known. How to be measured? It's difficult to be measured as a strategy, but the tactics could be measured, as we mentioned earlier, because the strategy nowadays, if you see, for example, in the UAE, the cabinet is changing every couple or 3 years. The strategy in the companies, they are changing as per the market industry, the metaverse and everything, and every tech and high tech, every day we find invention. So we are not able to go by the old school book. We need to be updated, lean organization, flexible to change.
So I think there's a connected question, Sharif, there from Mr. Vijayan there. Can we implement a strategic plan within the small teams or the group as a department without organization being the part of the whole strategic management? Is it possible or not?
It's not a strategic plan. A strategic plan, this should include all the divisions in the organizations, and they are connected as per each division nature of service, like the financial, the IT, the strategy division, the retail division, for example. So all of them, they need to be aligned with a certain activities and projects measured quarterly, for example, or annually or every 6 months. But what we have on the division level, that we call it policies, methodologies, which defines how we govern this division, for example, and how we assess the performance of that division as per 1, 2, 3, 4. But if we have a strategy in a division that we are now conflicting with the bigger strategy or the big picture of the whole organization. Now we have like two directions, so we need to be aligned.
Okay, thank you so much. One other question is coming from Mr. Vineet. Are there any specific tools would you like to recommend to our audience in terms of tools or any softwares that are used in strategic planning and management? And what are the attributes to be considered for financial forecasting?
It's a very nice question. A lot of times that we have this question. My answer is very simple. You can implement or you can buy a system in your organization while your task force are not able to use it. So you are wasting money, for example. While the size of your team is not that big, so that you can communicate easily with them with a certain tools and methods, for example, and you go to implement your strategy. So it's as per the nature of the organization and the size of the organization as well. We don't forget the culture of the organization. My recommendation, you start baby steps. You start, for example, applying and founding the basics. And when you are guaranteeing that basics are well founded and constructed like a concrete, you can add on your house. Like you can use, for example, most framework. You can use scorecards. You can use Scrum. And Scrum here for you, if you have small team, it could be from 5 to 7, and you can work as if in the puzzle, and you can have retrospectives, and you can collect it as a Lego in the performance at the end.
Two questions while you mentioned about culture, Sharif, specifically. So I can see that there's a question from Mr. Musa. What is the exact parlance around balanced scorecards to exclude people and organization culture part specifically?
Well, in the culture, we cannot exclude it, because if you are speaking about organization, we take the organization as a whole, not a part. When we assess the organization, of course, the organization, it has a purpose and it has a goal to achieve as per its vision or mission. This is written on papers, but whom actually working on it? Whom actually running the performance? Who we do assess? It's about the people. It's about the people in the organization. So we cannot eliminate. I believe all of us, we have like the yearly organizational feedback survey where you can state your mind or you can state your opinion. Some, they are honest and others are not, as per the organizational culture, which is wrong. That if we are in organizational culture brave and support the change and hear the employee and working with the teams, align their goals, personal goals, I mean, with the organizational goals, here you will find it a high culture. Other times, if we are going for the opposite, it's a low culture. So when we are going, you feel it from the answers, you feel it from the vibes, you feel it from the paperwork, you feel it from the performance. So we take it as a whole, we cannot exclude.
Thank you so much for answering that. We will take just one or two more questions for
Sure.
time. Mr. Imad is asking is there any really effective way to implement the results of SWOT analysis?
SWOT analysis is an easy tool you can use in the organization to stand on your opportunities, blah, 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 threats, weaknesses, all of this. You can effectively using SWOT when you align the strategic SWOT with the SWOT. Here, that you give a purpose for the SWOT analysis that you are doing. So if we are going, for example, and we do deep dive analysis in organization as expert, you find the weaknesses. They did identify the weaknesses, the threats, the opportunities, but what they did, you will find the weak action plan because they didn't relate and they didn't align this to the strategy. They worked on a part and they forgot the whole.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think it was lovely hearing you out of answering those some interesting questions around. I think it was quite insightful to hear you
Thank
out.
you. I'm here to assist and help.
Good. So I think before we conclude, I think I would like to conclude with my particular takeaways, which I was hearing from you in the past 1 hour. I think basically what you mentioned is that very interestingly that how the mission and the values is quite penetrative in terms of thought provocation of the company, you know, that why shall we communicate the story of why we exist and why we exist as a company, and then overall why we exist as a department in the underneath layer there. Why shall we, our employees, need to get beyond the work to go and then do their part of the contribution, just not going for their paychecks, right? That was very interesting aspect about what you mentioned to me. And I think the four pillars as well from the balanced scorecard, how they link back to the overall strategy execution and success. I think that was one of the very good takeaway for me as well. Thank you so much, Sherif, for giving us those insightful nuggets. So before we end this session, we would like to invite you for another webinar on 13th, on this 26th of October, basically now. And our speaker would be Mr. Mark, who will be taking us through another interesting topic, name as importance of self-mastery and its application in building relationships and influence. So I think that is quite interesting enough that because we are talking about fundamental emotional things as well, how to implement it in terms of real influencing skills as well. So please join us in the next webinar session. You may visit our events page of PMI UI website to register as well. And then I cannot conclude the session without a good shout out to our friends in the marketing team who are really responsible for posting all this relevant information to all our social media and to keep you all updated and informed. And as well, before we close it tonight, I would like to thank you all for your kind attendance, staying back with us, and your participation through questions and answers. We would not say good night without saying thank you to rest of the PMI UAE chapter team and the volunteers who have been always behind successful webinars like this. And that includes our colleagues from membership, outreach, volunteering, finance, and governance. And until our next webinar, together with my colleague behind the cameras, Olimud, and our director of events, Ms. Rosanna, this is Anchal, wishing you all pleasant evening and day ahead. Thank you so much. Stay blessed.
Thank you very much. Stay strong, stay safe, and good night.
Saying my final hi and goodbye. Sherif, thank you.
Thank you,
Pleasure to have
Irene.
you. Bye-bye.
Happy to be among. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.